Carousel of Life, Chapter 25, Protect, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction written based on the Adrinette April 2019 daily prompts. If you missed any of the previous chapters, you can find links to them in the description box below or click on the card in the upper right corner for the playlist. And now, let's take a spin on the Carousel of Life. Marinette gradually became aware of a hand shaking her shoulder, and the dull weight of her back pressed against an uncomfortably hard surface. Slitting her eyes, she caught sight of leaves swaying in the breeze. She was lying on her back. Realizing with embarrassment that she must have passed out during the shoot, she scrambled to sit up. "Hey, take it easy." Adrien put his hand on her arm, face twisted with concern. He had been standing beside the bench, leaning over her. As she pulled herself up, he guided her with hands on her shoulders and sat beside her, curling an arm across her back to make sure she was stable. Sorry. Marinette looked around in panic. Vincent, standing nearby, gave her a relieved smile. A few park-goers passed by, gawking. "Come on, let's go to the tent," Adrien urged, attempting to shield her from their view. "Can you stand?" Marinette nodded, getting to her feet. She felt a bit lightheaded, but otherwise completely fine. Even though it wasn't necessary, Adrien supported her with one arm curled protectively around her waist, walking in step. They reached the tent. Adrien lifted the flap and gestured for her to go in. Melita, the makeup artist, looked up from something she was watching on her phone. "Melita, do you mind giving us a moment?" Adrien requested. "Of course not, Adrien. Take your time." Melita gathered a few of her belongings. On her way out of the tent, she squeezed Marinette's arm and asked, "You okay, honey? You look a little pale." Marinette nodded and gave her best attempt at a reassuring smile. "I'm sure Adrien will take good care of you, right, Prince Charming?" Melita rubbed Marinette's arm, smirked at a sheepish Adrien over her shoulder, and disappeared through the tent flap. Adrien guided Marinette to the makeup chair and sat her down, then fetched a spare from the corner and a bottle of water. Unfolding the spare, he sat down across from Marinette and handed her the water bottle. "Are you okay? What happened? Are you sick?" Marinette licked her lips. I didn't bring water on my bike ride. The sun must have gotten to me." She cracked open the water bottle and took a small sip. That might have been part of it, but it wasn't the full truth. In fact, she had felt so overwhelmed by the enormity of the decision facing her, and the thought of having to wear a metaphorical mask for the rest of her life, that her brain couldn't handle it and just shut off. She wasn't ready to explain to Adrien the reason she had freaked out, though, so the white lie would have to suffice for now. Seeking comfort and closeness that she couldn't obtain through words, she reached out for his hand. He met her readily, cradling her hand in his own and drawing it into his lap. She noticed tiny tremors running through his hands and looked up in alarm. "You scared me," he confessed with a bemused smile. "Drink more." "I'm okay now, really. Sorry about that." They were knee to knee. Marinette took another, longer pull from the water bottle. She remembered she had come here with a purpose and realized this was probably the perfect chance. "Adrien?" "Yeah?" His eyes were soft and attentive. Now that the idea that Adrien was Chat Noir had grown in her mind, Marinette saw her partner in every little movement. His posture, the micro-expressions in his eyes and mouth, the rapt attention he paid her. She had been watching him closely on both sides of the mask since the fashion show the previous day, and she was convinced it was true. Not that she had been looking before, but she had found him. The idea was comforting. Chat Noir had always been important to her. He was her courage, her protector, and even though she had rejected him countless times, she was willing to admit to herself that if she hadn't fallen for Adrien first, she might easily have fallen for Chat. She did love him as a person. But she hadn't allowed herself to think of him that way because she didn't want to lead him on when she knew she couldn't give her heart to him. Now, though, slipping into this new frame of mind, of seeing her partner as the boy she loved and loving him wholly, was easy. A little different and unsettling, but easy. Tiki's warning had deeply shaken her, though. She wasn't ready to think about Ladybug and Chanois and the forces of good and evil and the safety of the universe. Now she just wanted to retreat into the comfort of being Marinette and Adrien, two normal teenagers. She took a deep breath. I came because I wanted to tell you that you don't have to keep flogging yourself over loving Ladybug, Marinette explained. Maybe she was allowed this much, at least. It's okay to love Ladybug, she went on. We'll talk about it more later, okay? I promise you that there's nothing to feel guilty about for loving Ladybug. Adrien's eyes widened. Marinette squeezed his hand as if that would anchor her somehow. She felt lightheaded again, like the tent was spinning around her. She had basically told him she was Ladybug, right? He would understand that, right? But it was just vague enough to leave a safe margin of doubt and protect herself with the thought that she hadn't actually revealed herself yet. This would buy some time, at least, to weigh her options. At least, maybe Adrien wouldn't feel so terrible anymore, if he trusted her. You trust me, right? Marinette checked. Of course, Adrien confirmed emphatically. Marinette turned over his hand and traced the edge of his ring. He watched her, engrossed in the action. I trust you too. Marinette. Marinette's heart was thudding in her throat. I'm a little freaked out right now, she admitted. I'm really scared. I think I need some time before... She wasn't ready to finish the sentence. Yeah, she finished awkwardly. I just need time. You understand, right? Either he knew what she was talking about or he must be utterly confused, in case of that hair of possibility that it wasn't him. She felt crazy and reckless for speaking these words. Despite all her reasoning, her heart had already decided anyway. She slipped in her little rebellions like wedges into a crevice. This way, there wouldn't be a defining moment when she dared to turn her back on duty. She was surely out of her mind. Adrien picked up her hand and kissed it fervently. Of course, princess, he breathed. He didn't seem confused at all. Take your time. I'll be here for you. You always are, she whispered. It had to be him. Marinette's heart flooded with warmth and a giddy smile stretched across her lips. I love you, you know that? I really love you. Adrien's face brightened in an expression that looked like relief, and Marinette realized she hadn't said it back the few times that Adrien had told her he loved her in the park. I love you too, princess. We'll be okay, Marinette assured. I believe you. Adrien reached out to stroke back a tendril of Marinette's hair that was too short to tuck into her braid. His fingers brushed Marinette's right ear. Her earring. You know, Marinette ventured, towing the edge of a canyon of words she couldn't say. Doesn't it feel comfortable to be just us? Just the two of us. Why don't we just forget about Ladybug for now? Adrien nodded, transfixed. And Chanois, Marinette added in a low voice. And Chanois? Adrien repeated, his eyebrows shooting up. What does he have to do with anything? Even though he had asked the question, his tone said that he was just testing the waters, that he actually knew exactly why she was bringing him up. Let's just forget about them for now. She said it with a smile, light and dismissive. Can we do that? I think we can, Adrien whispered. Because, remember, we haven't told anyone we broke up, Marinette pointed out, then hastily added, except Alia. I accidentally told her. It was stupid. I'm just so used to giving her updates about about how things were going with you. She giggled nervously, feeling like a babbling idiot. The euphoria from the words she had spoken, the fact that they both now, probably, knew exactly whom they were talking to, combined with her mind already being a little addled from her recent fainting spell, was making everything seem amusing. You told her? Adrien's eyes were laughing too, caught up in her mood even though the topic wasn't particularly funny. His mouth curved into an easy smile. Oh man, she probably hates me now. She does, Marinette giggled, then covered her mouth. Sorry, it's not funny. And I'm sure she doesn't actually hate you. She just cares about us, that's all. You know how Alia is. It's okay, I don't blame her. Adrien shrugged. I have been acting like a jerk to you for over a month. He groaned and his gaze fell, looking more serious. Sorry. Adrien. Marinette tugged his hand and his gaze lifted. I understand. I really do. So don't feel bad anymore or worry about what Alia thinks. She'll forgive you, but it isn't what she thinks that's important, right? Right, Adrien murmured, stroking the back of Marinette's hand. Thanks for understanding me. That's more than I could ask for. Silence descended upon them. It was a comfortable silence, like a sanctuary. Are you feeling better? Adrien asked after a little while. Are you sure you're not sick? I'm fine. Marinette stood up, pulling Adrien to his feet, then did a little spin, making the diaphanous layers of her dress flare out. See? Totally fine. Adrien caught her around the waist. You are so beautiful. It's just the clothes. Marinette blushed. They don't do you justice, princess. You are beautiful. Adrien stroked a thumb across her cheek and gazed down at her. The way the translucent walls of the tent glowed lit up his face and the tips of his hair. Once again, he looked like a fairy tale prince. I feel like we're in a movie. Marinette laughed, breaking the surreal mood that had settled between them. We should probably get back to the shoot before it gets too late. Well, you should anyway. Pretty sure I'm done for today. Wait, Marinette. Adrien cupped Marinette's cheek, fingers tangling in the loose strands of her hair. Her breath caught. Yes? Everything's okay between us, right? He touched her earring again, ever so subtly. If she weren't Ladybug, she wouldn't even have noticed. But she was used to his nonverbal communication by now. This was their language. Yes, she whispered, cheeks warming under his hands, watching the way his eyes traveled over her face as if he were drinking in the sight of her. Then, breaking up was an idiotic idea on my part? Not idiotic, just an overreaction? Marinette reached up to grasp his wrist. Adrien pulled her into his arms, pressing a hard kiss against the top of her head. Can we pretend that never happened then? I never wanted to break up with you. I was just desperate. I didn't know what to do. I know. Marinette buried into his arms, turning her face to the side so she wouldn't get makeup on his clothes. She rubbed her palms up and down his back. I understand you. I'm going to trust you when you say I have nothing to feel guilty about. His hushed voice was full of implications that Marinette comprehended, an open question she was prepared to answer. My heart is in your hands, princess. Marinette nodded against his chest. Be patient. You know. Her lips formed the nickname, but she didn't give it any voice. For now, it's okay to just love each other, right? You and me. Adrien and Marinette. Once again, the words coming out of her mouth must sound so strange, but Adrien gave no indication of that. He brushed the loose hair off her cheek with the back of his hand, and she felt the ring's cold metal drag across her skin. Of course, my love. Marinette eased her way out of his arms, his eyes following her movements with a look of intense longing. Come on, Bogos, let's get you back in front of a camera. She took his hand and led him out of the tent. Thank you so much for listening to Chapter 25 of Carousel of Life. What did you think? Let me know in the comments or leave a thumbs up to show your support. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when the next part comes out. See you next time!